How about them Cowboys? This is DJ at Make America's Team Great Again. And I'm here with a question for Cowboys fan base and football fans in general. What do the Dallas Cowboys actually need to get back to the golden era of the Super Bowls? And are we even asking the right questions? You know, everybody wants to draft this person and that person, but I got some data to look at on the last 20 or so Super Bowl teams, and I think it tells a different story here. Yeah, well, let's dive in on these defenses. And first, we're going to look at pass rushers. You know, we got the great Von Miller with the Broncos. We got Chris Jones with the Chiefs. He's won a couple times. He had paired up with Frank Clark. We also got Trey Flowers with the Patriots, JPP. You know, he partnered up with Shaquille Barrett in the Bucks. We got Elmis Dumerville with Terrell Suggs and Clay Matthews. He was a prominent force. Then Von Miller again with this Rams team, which I think was built on a lot on roster construction. But taking a look at these pass rushers, we can go from the Giants with the NASCAR front, Justin Tuck, O.C. Umenyiora, JPP with Linville Joseph. We can also go to Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis with the Colts, that team. Or even the past year teams, the Seattle Seahawks, who just won the Super Bowl off of collection of guys working towards one goal. Okay, now let's look at these safeties. We can go to the Chiefs with Justin Reed, Warren Thorhill, Rams, Eric Weddle, with Nick Scott. You know, we got the Bucks with guys like Antoine Winfield Jr., Jordan Whitehead. Then go to the Honey Badger with the Chiefs. Devin McCourty, Patrick Chung. Eagles, Malcolm Jenkins. Again, Devin McCourty. Devin McCourty again. You got the greats like Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor. You know, you go down Darren Sharper, Ryan Clark. We could even take a step back and go back further. We can go to the Colts those days with Bob Sanders, Antoine Bethea, with Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, with Ryan Clark, Darren Sharper, you know, TJ Ward. Like I mentioned before, Earl Thomas, they had a great tandem, great secondary, and Trail Roll. And what's standing out to me about this position group, the safety position, almost every Super Bowl team had a prominent safety, a steward of the game, hybrid, dependable, you know, a prominent player at that position, most definitely throughout the league. Well, let's take a look at these linebackers next. Okay, we got Nick Bolton, a good field general, Ernest Jones, Troy Reader, Devin White, and Levante David. Man, that was a heck of a linebacker duo. Anthony Hitchens and Damian Wilson, ex-Cowboy players. Backups at that. Dante Hightower, Kyle Van Noy, Nigel Bradham, Athletic, Michael Kendricks. It's supposed to be Dante Hightower again right here with the Patriots. You got Danny Trevathan, Jamie Collins, Athletic. But they had the brain power of Belichick with that. Bobby Wagner, Ray Lewis, A.J. Hawk, Jonathan Vilma, Lamar Woodley, Antonio Pierce. These guys all have great minds and understand the game of football. As Christian Parker's saying, as he's been saying of lately, he wants some guys that can think, guys that can use their brain. You think of guys like Ray Lewis, you know, Nick Bolton, Bobby Wagner. These guys changed the game from a mind standpoint. Jonathan Vilma, Antonio Pierce, head coach in the NFL. Jamie Collins, who was backed by the great Bill Belichick. But yeah, with this linebacker position, it just seems to me, taking a look at it, that it's more of a mind thing. You need a general. You know, we had great linebackers like Luke Kuechly, never won a Super Bowl. Sean Lee never won a Super Bowl. Patrick Willis, you know. So I don't think it's all about the best linebacker in the NFL. I don't think that gets you a Super Bowl. Nor does the best pass rusher get you a Super Bowl. Because guys like TJ Watt, Myles Garrett have still yet to see a Super Bowl. Even Jared Allen. J.J. Watt was one of the most prominent defensive players I've ever seen in my lifetime. He never won a Super Bowl, so I think we need to take a deep dive in what we actually need. The defensive tackle, nose tackle position. And looking at this list, man, every single one of these guys were top of their position or just big beasts, dude. You got Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, Chris Jones, Aaron Donald, Vita Vea, Lawrence guys like Vince Wilfork, Brandon Mebane, Linville Joseph. These guys are prominent. Richard Seymour. You got this big guy right here, Haloti Ngata, man. Like I said, Jalen Carter and the combo with him and this Jordan Davis kid, man, and the great Aaron Donald, man. I think this defensive tackle position is the most important position when it comes to winning the Super Bowl on defense. Because it seems like you can't win a Super Bowl without one of these big guys in the middle, from what the data is telling me. Well, let's move on to the cornerback position now. We got guys like Darius Slay, Quinyon Mitchell, Trey McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, Jalen Ramsey, Rashawn Breeland, Travarius Ward, Gilly, Jason McCourty, Ronald Derby, Jalen Mills, Darrell Reeves and Brandon Browner, Jabari Greer, Tracy Porter. And me looking at these lists of cornerbacks, it seems to me that cornerbacks that win the Super Bowl are very systematic. Even the greats that have won recently, they had to have a pair or a tandem. They had to have a corner with them, and they had to have a great pass rush to support them. That's where I think it starts at, is with the pass rush. And also the pass rush starts with your weakest pass rusher. I feel your pass rush is only good as your weakest pass rusher. And I feel like your secondary or your corner position is only good as your pass rush. So I think it's about building a wave of pass rushers to support your corners. And you have your linebacker and safety as the head and the mind of your defense. So now I ask you, with this data in hand on the past Super Bowl teams, what do we need to get? What positions do we think we need to fill at what times to make this defense as best as we can make it? And what players do we already have on this roster that maybe didn't show promise last year because of the Eberflus experiment, or just a failure of last year, that we think can step up for us this year and be valuable, prominent players in this defense? Who do you believe can do that for us? Yeah, with that being said, make America's team great again. How about them Cowboys? Go Blue. See y'all next time.